What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless with another episode on Elite Dangerous. When we left off in the last episode, we started off with some bounty hunting before moving back to some missions, which actually ended up being more lucrative, believe it or not. So in an effort to... Oh, hello. Who's this from? Wait a minute. This is him. Why does it say there's no job there? Huh. I can't accept that. Why? This mission may require the use of SRV. Well, okay. Why can't I accept that exactly? That's really weird. I've never seen that before. Huh. Okay. So that's kind of odd. That's really weird. Alright, well the other ones don't have any missions, so I guess we'll have to move back to Newsing, would be my guess. Excess mass. Wait, maybe is that it? Oh, I can't get there. Okay. Okay, so I have stuff in my cargo hold from other missions, and it's weighing me down to where I can't actually get to Newsing. So thus, it says I can't actually make the jump. Okay. That's making more sense now. It still should have told me, like, excess weight or something, though, right? Okay. It's still saying it's not available. Why? Alright, hold up. Now I can get there. It still says excess mass for call. Wait, where am I? Huh. I'm in call 88. And then it's delivered. It's just supposed to go to Newsing. I am so confused. Okay? Sorry, I did not mean to, get hung up on this one thing. But it's kind of confusing me at this point. Like, what is going on? Restock, fuel store, all that's fine. But it just won't let me accept this for reasons unknown? I mean, it says the mission requires an SRV, which we have. Higher ranked missions are offered as your reputation increases, which we are. We can go to the system. What is the problem? Okay. Okay. Well, we can at least go to Newsing now, so I guess we'll just head that way. Weird. Like, super, really, really weird, right? Oh, I actually need to disengage that lock-on, don't I? I always want to lock on before I leave and just head towards whatever planet I want to go to. And then I kind of remember that I can't do that. Because I have to do that in order to get out of here.
Clear of port confines. Safe travels, Commander.
That is so weird, though. Oh, speaking of, the installation just talked back to me saying, like, you're clear and stuff, and it reminded me that Andy K actually responded in the last episode that confirmed that they don't actually change their dialogue when you go up in rank. When you're landing at a place, the announcements don't actually change. I was not sure if they did or not. The texts obviously change back and forth, but we've seen examples of that before, but I was questioning the actual, like, audio, like when they're like, you know, welcome Commander, all that kind of stuff. I was wondering if that was actually a thing where they changed it. By the way, I don't really know why, but if you guys are hearing a loud hum kind of sound and it made it through my filters and stuff, that's probably the work crews out on our street. They're still developing our complex, and so there's still a lot of construction going on, and there's not a lot I can do about that. So normally all of my post effects, I can't ever tell exactly what my mic picks up because it does weird stuff. You know, sometimes you can be in the same room and it'll do a certain thing and it won't pick it up, and then other things it'll pick up from, like, the room down the hall type thing. So I don't always know what it'll pick up, and usually I kind of have a blanket noise reduction thing to cover the fan for my my PC, and normally that picks out things, but I don't know if any of their loud construction trucks moving through or something, if you hear any of that or not. So if you do, that's what it is. And I think a while back, like 3 or 4 episodes at least ago, somebody had mentioned that, you know, kind of like how loud is your PC if it picks it up. It's really not the fan that's loud, it's that my mic picks up a lot of stuff, and I probably could go in with software or something and calibrate it to be less sensitive, but I kind of got everything working where it's like it works fine, so I don't want to kind of break it when I don't really know what I'm doing, so it works well enough to do what I want it to do. So I just kind of leave it there unless people tell me, like, hey, something sounds bad and I need to change something. But if everybody's fine with what they're hearing, then I typically I'm not a super big sound person. I do a decent amount of video stuff, but I'm not a big sound guy. So I kind of just leave it as that don't rock the boat if I actually get the settings working correctly. But the other thing is the way I have my entertainment unit set up essentially is the PC's fan is actually facing toward, it's like sitting off to my left, but the fan part's actually facing towards me, and the microphone. So it tends to pick up on things. Like if I had it turned the other way, then it probably wouldn't pick it up hardly at all, but because it's kind of pointed at it, it picks it up more, is the other reason that happens. But it was kind of just one of those getting everything to connect and work right, cord length-wise and stuff, that just worked out the best. So I left it that way. But, yeah. So, anywho, I'm actually pretty excited today, kind of, sort of. I was actually working a little bit more on my book, and I'm down to... As long as nothing changes, which I don't really see, I've done most of the bulk of it, but I'm thinking I'm on the last chapter at this point for the first draft. So once I get done, I think I'm about a quarter of the way through the last chapter. And it's very tricky for me, because the last chapter is not going to be inherently long. It's not going to be like the biggest chapter or anything anywhere close to that. But in a lot of ways, I see it as one of the most important ones, and that may not actually end up, if I continue to do in that world, and which I have every intention of doing, but if I continue in that world and do more novels, or eventually move into animations to do, like, you know, low budget type movie type things that we do out of 3D, something like that, you know, as the world evolves and as we still play around with it, or if we do games or anything like that, over time, a lot of, like, if you stick with that, if it ends up turning into a series, which I actually intend for it to, I just don't know how well it'll actually be received. I'm hoping. Alright, let's see just a quick thing real quick. Nope, no, boost, I meant to hit back. Stopping. Please stop? Please stop? Nope. Okay. I'm hoping... Oh, here we go again. I don't know why I cannot land in Gorbatko lately. Like, I'm playing solo, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. And like, oh, switch over to solo. No, I already am. And it's still just a crowded port. And I don't really know why, because it looks like there's 2 empty ports. But I'll sit here and do this for, like, at least 5 minutes or something. And I've even relogged before. And it's still just... It, like, never wants to let me just land and dock. It always keeps telling me it's denied. I have to try, like, 3 or 4 times of reloading, or just sit here for, like, 5 minutes spamming this. It's very annoying. Okay, so... Finally got to land. I did have to relog, though. It wasn't letting me through. I don't really know what that's about, but it's very, very aggravating. Okay, so let's check some mission board stuff before we return to our topic of conversation for the moment. What do we got? Okay, now are you going to let me accept this, or what? Locate the point of interest in the coal system. Alright, done. We can do that. Alright, now this is another Fed... Ooh! This is a lot of money, but a lot of influence, so we are going to do it. Of course it's mission critical. Alright. This is kind of quite the thing. Like, this is going to actually set us back a little bit in the funds department, but all of that's going to be a nice little boost for our reputation. Let's just spam through this. Hello. Alright. We don't have any more for that. How did that do to our rank? I'm curious now. 79% on the petty officer. I don't remember what our actual rank was with the feds. So at the moment we're at 81, but I don't really know where we were coming from. And this is the planetary scan thing. Blah 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 blah. Okay. We are going to... What did this pay anyway? It doesn't say. Oh well. Oh yeah, it does. 255. So we get a little bit of that money back. We've got to go basically back to where we were, of course. I'm tempted to go to Cabrera's first. Yeah, we probably should. Because there might actually be some other missions to Cole. Hopefully. Otherwise I'm just wasting time, but nah. Whatever. We got a lot of actual rep bonus there from just doing all those donation missions. So it's worth to take a pit stop for a second and see if they have any more missions for us, I suppose. But yeah, so I'm for those of you that may not know, which is probably everyone, because I really haven't talked a whole lot about what my book's about type of thing yet. Honestly, like, full disclosure, it's because I haven't sat down and written like the back of the book description type thing, and I'm not really sure how to condense it to that point. That's going to be a real difficult task for me, is trying to find a way to kind of condense the plot of the book into... I mean, I say that, I don't want anybody to get, like, overhyped or anything about, like, oh, it's going to be this big thing. It's because the universe is something that's a very large setting. I'm not even frame shifting. I'm not paying attention. My best friend, Caden Red Pearl, and I, who some of you know from my channel, he's appeared on my channel stuff, does stuff with me on Dog Squad and things. We've actually been writing this world a long time now. Like, it's been over 10 years that we've been working on it. Not professionally or anything, but like in the background as like a hobby, we were developing this world and storylines and characters and blah 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 blah, with the intent to eventually make, you know, books, movies, games, whatever we could that worked for the storylines or our budget. So that's what ended up leading me to book writing, honestly, is because it has some of the lowest overhead that you need in nowadays when you can do ebooks and things like that. But so we've always kind of wrote it like a series in mind, like not one of these, hey, the first one did good, now let's try and come up with a sequel. No, like, we have stuff planned, and sequels and other things, and different storylines, different characters, different side stories that follow different characters. You know, it's kind of just a big world, and so there's a lot of stories set in that world. So I fully intend for it to be a series. It's more of a question of, like, does anybody like it enough for it to become a series? Like, would you release more? Do you have enough people that it's worth the time to actually put in to do another one, kind of thing, or a different medium, or whatever? So I won't know until it's actually like, hey, this is really cool, we need to find out what happens, type of thing, or where it goes from here. Whether or not it ends up actually becoming a series kind of thing, but I hope that it will. But with that in mind, I am not at the right angle here. That's the moral of this story. I am not lined up correctly for this. No, with that in mind, the last chapter that I'm currently working on, I'm really not in a good... this isn't bad, I guess, but I'm still at a kind of steep angle. I want to drop it a little bit more. But yeah, so the last chapter I'm working on, in a way, it's probably the most... how do I put it? The short version is that has some of the most series-spanning connotation to it. Like, there's a lot of information that's not known there. Like, it's one of those things that I hope people will see it as like, okay, that was interesting and cool, and it wraps up the story, great, fine, whatever. But then when you go back after, you know, however many books down the line, or stories or games or whatever, you know, and eventually you can kind of go back and be like, man, this actually meant a lot more than I realized at the time. So it's not going to be the longest chapter, but it could take me a long time to actually get it done compared to some of the other chapters, because I'm really trying to make sure I get all of the little Easter egg nuggets in there, kind of thing. Why am I drifting? Why am I drifting up? That was weird. Never seen it do that before. See, Gorbatko, that's how you do it. Cabrera's has it right. You just do that, and you have a request for a landing thing. They grant it, you land. That's how it works. I'm not bitter. But yeah, so it's kind of really exciting though, because in a way, I mean, I still have revisions to do. There's a couple of chapters in the early to mid part of the book that were written a while back, and things have changed as I've gone along with it. So I'm after I'm done, I'm honestly hoping that I can be done with the chapter and actually finish the first draft by the end of this week, would actually be my hope. But if that happens, I'm still not ready, as far as I gotta go back and make some revisions and changes and rewrites and stuff, and then of course you get into editing and blah 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 blah. Actually the thing that concerns me a lot is book cover. I'm very nervous about getting a good book cover thing. I've seen a couple. I've taken a couple courses. For those of you that have ever heard of Udemy, it's kind of like the a non-collegiate type. No missions, really? Dang nabbit! What is with all these people and like no missions? You're supposed to have missions for me to do. I was afraid this might be a waste of time. Oh well. Well, at least I got to chit-chat, which we all know how much I love doing that. But yeah, so I've taken a couple courses on Udemy about book writing, particularly in marketing, in that it's not really like how to do character development and stuff like that, but that knowledge came from years and years of watching movies and shows and stuff and seeing what certain ones did right and certain ones did wrong. That's really like all of my knowledge about how to properly create a story. It really comes down to just like actually being an audience member for a long time, like watching a bunch of sci-fi movies and TV shows and the ones that you like and you don't like and that kind of thing. I mean, there's no perfect one, but we can all agree that some have done things better than others, you know. I mean, there's some that win awards and some that don't. There's some that keep going. There's some that get canceled. You see where I'm going? And so it's kind of just been like, honestly, ever since I was a kid, it was kind of just paying attention to which ones you like and don't like and which ones survive and why. And that's really all that's kind of shaped my creativity as far as that goes. I've never been to like, you know, for filming and cinematography, I've never been to like film school or anything like that. It's just kind of been, you just watch enough stuff and see what works kind of thing. But some of that I think is a good thing, actually, because sometimes we over-scientificate things. And I know scientificate's not a word, but it should be. But yeah, like, I sometimes think that we overly apply science to stuff as far as, like, when you look at filmmaking and movies, when you watch, like, developer diaries or behind-the-scenes looks, and they'll go into these, like, why these movies worked, and why the cinematography worked, and the shots and the angles and stuff. And you never get anybody that's just like, it was a cool shot, I just wanted to do it that way, I thought it would look cool. There's always some super scientific reason behind, this is the psychology behind the camera angles and blah blah blah, and you're like, Are we going a little bit crazy with this, guys? Don't you think? Like, eventually it just kind of becomes an art and you can just tell that that looks cool. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they always have to define a reason for what looks cool, or what would be a good camera angle, or blah blah blah. And I feel like sometimes they always feel like they need a reason rather than just saying, I have an eye for this stuff and it just looks cool. Because that's the way I feel about it. Like, whenever I did, like, the Dog Squad stuff and I think of camera angles and shots and stuff in my head, I literally just think them up. Like, I'm just like, this would be cool and this is how it should be angled. It's not because of some scientific, psychological reason. I mean, there's more psychology in the scripts, I would imagine, of things people say and Easter eggs and hints and stuff than there is in the lighting and camera angles. Not that you can't do that, but I do think sometimes the film industry in general has kind of gotten a little overzealous with their explanations for why they do stuff, rather than just being like, you know, did we ask Michelangelo why he painted the Sistine Chapel that way? Or was it just he was an artist and he just had an eye for it, you know? So sometimes I think that they try and overcomplicate things and give everything a scientific reason, and some people just have an eye for it and some people don't. It's like that, you know, some of the great filmmakers and stuff, they just they just have a talent for that, I think. But mine, it was never like an officially trained thing. So like when people are like, oh, you're writing a book, like, where did you learn? I'm like, I didn't. I just watched movies and read books and things that, you know, convey story, and figured out how to do a story. And that's part of where my subconscious, the self-consciousness comes from, of like, I don't know if it's good enough or not. I hope so. I hope everybody likes it when it actually hits. You know, I hope people are happy about it. And not like, oh, this was so disappointing. I don't know why I sounded like that. It just seemed like the voice to use. But, so yeah, I mean, I don't really have any kind of credentials or experience in that. It just was like, well, making a movie can cost millions of dollars if you do it right. And, you know, I don't have that. So a book cost me a word processor and some copyright stuff and things. And it's like, yeah, that seems like the way to go. But yeah, so I'm really kind of excited because it's almost a light at the end of the tunnel moment. Like, I know that I still have revisions and editing and all that kind of stuff to do, but feeling like, hey, the overall bulk storyline, like the main stuff is done, like you've actually written it, is a very weird concept. I've been working on it for a long time, at least in story fashion, and then once I started writing it, I've still been writing it for a long time. So it's never really felt like, hey, this is done. So that idea is pretty cool to me. I'm pretty excited about that. That like, hey, I'm closing in. It's not a pipe dream. Like it. Now the pipe dream is it doing well and becoming a living. That's the pipe dream so far, you know. And when that stops being a dream, that will be phenomenal. If, rather, not when, but if. I do think sometimes people get a little too confident in their own stuff, and like, yeah, I love this thing, and I've had that conversation a lot with Caden when we were working on some of this stuff. Was like, I don't want to be that guy that thinks because I like this is the most amazing thing since sliced bread, kind of thing. Because it's very easy to get rose-colored glasses about your own work. You know, it's like, I like everything about this story, so it must be perfect. And it's like, no, that's just your opinion. You just like everything about the story because you made it up. Of course you're gonna like it. You know, it's the culmination of all of the playing out in the backyard when you wanted to be involved as a character and all these other things, and you weren't part of it. You know, that's how you do that, is you make up your own story. So, yeah, I'm very self-conscious about that, like, I'm always constantly hoping that I'm not just psyching myself out that, like, yeah, this is gonna be cool, because I like it. So I hope everybody enjoys it. But I won't really know until I actually put it out there. So that's why I'm working on it. But the cover art thing really has me concerned because, you know, I've been in this world for a very long time, but in all honesty, I'm writing a book. Because I suck at drawing, so there's no, like, comic book or art stuff. That's part of why I got into learning amateur level like 3D was eventually thinking of doing graphic novels through 3D rather than by hand because I can't draw. Honestly, if you were like, gun to my head, draw a DBZ character or something and make it look right, or I'm going to, kill you, I would die. I would just be like, go ahead, not even gonna bother. I cannot draw very well at all. Like, you could tell it's a person, and the spiky hair would probably make you think Dragon Ball, but that's where the similarities would probably stop. Like, the arms would be disproportionate, and you'd have, it would be bad. So, I do not draw at all very well. And so, without being able to draw, I've had people tell me, between schoolwork and stuff growing up, when you had to do a essay or a creative writing paper or something like that, I've had a lot of people tell me that I was good at writing or conveying a story. The only part that's hard is the lack of experience. Comparing it to somebody like, I don't know, like Stephen King or George R.R. Martin or Tolkien or something like that. When they're established writers, they've done it and they know what they're doing. And there's the experience level there that you can kind of fall back on to trust, and I don't have that, and so it's difficult. It's difficult to be confident in the stuff because I'm like, I hope it comes out good. But it's like I told Caden before when him and I would talk about this kind of stuff. It's like, I don't really know how to, the best way I can put it would be like, I don't have a doubt that the story that we've developed is worth telling. There's some stories that you're just like, this is a weak story. I personally, and granted, you could have a level of, I just mentioned that, you can have a level of self-confidence that isn't actually matched, by the content. You can think it's awesome, and it not be. But that said, there's a level of, I think the story is good. I really think we've taken enough time with it and thought through the storyline for it to be coherent, at the very least. At the very least, it doesn't feel as haphazard as some of these things that get turned into TV shows that you're just like, how did this get made? This is a horrible storyline, so in that regard, I feel like the story overall is worth telling. The real debate and why I end up self-conscious is, are you skilled enough to tell it properly? That's the hard part for me, and I think it's kind of one of those until I actually put something out there and everyone was like, this is cool, I don't know that I'll have an answer to that question. If you only ever have your opinion, then you have no outside opinion, basically. So, yeah, that's why, but like I said, I didn't really mean to turn this episode into a rant about my book stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about it at the moment, because it's kind of, oh, dagnabbit. I keep hitting square. Okay. I keep hitting square to stop myself, because that's the flight controls. That's not what it is on the SRV. Is that it? Or do we have to scan the other one? That's a defense turret. Was that what we were supposed to be doing? Oh wait, no, that was the defense turret, you dummy. I need to scan this thing, don't I? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Way more sense this makes. As I was caught up in what I was talking about, I wasn't even paying attention. There we go. Incoming mission critical message. It's gonna be like, hey, good job, come back. But you did good. Okay. But yeah, so anyways, I didn't really mean to turn this whole episode into a rant about my book stuff, but like I said, I wanted to bring it up though because I was kind of excited, and I have done a very bad job of talking about it, frankly, is because I kind of have this... Okay. So, let's switch topics just briefly for a second. I have this kind of, anti-current, current industry standard for like gaming and stuff with everything. Well, not even so much gaming in general, but gaming is one of the biggest particular ones where you'll see this kind of release stuff. I hate, like at a despise, loathing level, I hate the whole early access stuff and the early access, all the beta stuff, all of the releasing an incomplete game and then finishing it with DLC later. I hate it. I despise it with a passion. Like, I grew up in the era of when you bought a game, that was the game. It was done. And if they had enough to do something else, but it wasn't quite enough for a sequel, well, we'll do an expansion pack, which was like in between sequels, and it was like half a game. It wasn't like, hey, you have armor for your horse and a new hairstyle. And lately, with all of the early access stuff that's, you know, like, it stays in early access for like 4 years, they're releasing it in pre-alpha. I'm like, do any of you guys that are running these studios even know what those terms actually mean? Because when I was in college for game development, they walked us through kind of the protocol at the time. Obviously that's changed now, but at the time, an alpha was an in-house, in-studio prototype type of thing until you got everything working, and it had all the basic functionalities and stuff, and all the graphics and stuff were still being made. Beta was like, most of the functionality, actually like 90% to 95% of the functionality was there, and you had like 80% of the graphics done, and it was just balancing, tweaking, optimizing, and adding in the final steps of all the little graphic things. And now you get these releases of pre-alpha. And I'm like, guys, that's like a prototype you would be pitching to a studio type of thing, or a publisher. Not supposed to be something the public sees, let alone pays for. And I get it. That, you know, when you're a small upstart indie company, you're looking for funding, so let's give you the beta test and you can support us and all that stuff. That's not what I have a fault with. What I have a fault with is how it's turned into the development cycle. It's not, we have like a demo running, we'd like it to be, you know, be funded while we're developing it, and then, you know, we'll get it done. But like, for it to be an early access for like 4 or 5 plus years, and you're still not at a release, that's where I have a problem with early access, is you're like, guys, what are you doing? You know, so I have kind of this pet peeve. I mean, granted, you guys can look at my channel and know that I buy them. It's, like I said, I acknowledge it's kind of the way that the gaming industry has gone at this point, is even big AAA studios are doing this stuff where, you know, the game feels incomplete and then they'll do like a DLC that finishes everything, which is kind of a cash-in, if I'm being honest, to me. But anyways, I say that to say I hate the idea of giving things out half-baked, where you're not done with it, but hey, this is what we're doing. I'm not talking about like releasing concept art on Twitter or something about this is concept art for the new game we're working on, but I mean like, okay, an example would be with my book stuff. I haven't talked about it very much, and that's partially my bad, because I'm really not taking an effort to actually talk about it and advertise of what I'm working on, kind of thing. But at the same time, I've heard of stuff where like people have tried to do, I'm writing this story and I'm going to release it like a chapter at a time, and it just feels very like you're like not done with something and you're just trying to get it out there. And I get it if that's the only way you can fund it. Like, I don't have a problem with a legit, that's what it was designed for. The early access Kickstarter, all that stuff was designed to help people that weren't in an established studio or something to get products funded to where they could do that full time and still work on what they love doing. When it's used properly, kind of like narcotics and drugs, it's like when you use it as they're prescribed, they're not, well, okay, sometimes they do still ending up badly, but you get my point. When you use it as prescribed and as the doctor tells you to, it generally does what it's supposed to do. When you do it the way the guy in the corner tells you to do it, you can, you know, OD and die. So, you know, it's kind of the same idea of when it's used properly, it's fine, but when people abuse it, you know, it ends up turning into a cash grab. And it can be fairly frustrating for the consumer, because then they start doubting, are you ever going to deliver on what you said? Blah, 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 blah. And most of you most of the people that watch my stuff are gamers. I mean, most of, like, the 99% of what I do is gaming, and the other 1% is stuff based in games, like Dog Squad and things, or something to that effect. But most everybody's a gamer here. We can all agree, right? I'm gonna get that one person now that's like, I'm not a gamer, I'm offended by this, you know? But yeah, so that whole releasing things half-baked bothers me. I don't like that idea. And to combat that, I always said, when I release things, I wanted them to be done. I didn't want to release them until they were ready. And that's part of what contributed to my book thing of not really talking too much about it, is, to me, it wasn't really quite in a stage where I wanted to talk about it yet. It wasn't really ready to be advertised. And I've gotten flack from Caden before, because he's like, dude, you need to be talking about this and telling people this is what you're working on and advertising it and getting people ready for it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I probably should. I'm just not doing that at the moment. Wait. Oh, that's Cabrera's. What is going on here? I think I just unlocked it rather than actually requesting. See, like that. Why is it? Why? Just why? I don't understand. It's always Gorbatko. Like, nowhere else does it do this to me. It's very frustrating. Like you guys saw, I just landed at the other places. This one, no, I've got to do relogs and stuff. It's fun. Okay, so I finally got docked. Had to relog, but whatever. Alright. And I do apologize a bit for turning this into a book rant, but still, it was something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Not to the extent that I have, admittedly, but I kind of just end up ranting when I rant. Hence ranting. But, alright. So we got that one done. That's deliveries. Ick. No. Alright, so that's perfect. Set things up. We're good. Okay, so, where are we at? 80. Nice. Alright, so we're at 80% of the petty officer. Still a long way to go, though. Ick. This is taking forever. But yeah, so I do apologize for not really talking about my stuff and some of my behind-the-scenes projects quite as much, as I probably should have, but like I said, a lot of that comes from the I don't want to give things out until they're actually something to talk about and they're actually ready to go. So, yeah, you'll definitely expect to hear more about my book and stuff in the near future. I'm still hoping. It's kind of, the window's closing, and so I'm not really sure if I'm going to make my own self-imposed deadline, but I'm still kind of hoping that somewhere around December will be where I'm ready to release the book, is my hope. The biggest hurdle at this point is going to be the book art, cover art stuff, because I can't draw, obviously. I mentioned that before, so I'm obviously not doing it myself unless I did it in 3D, which would probably take me a long time. And so, more than likely, the difficulty is going to be in articulating to another artist what I'm kind of looking for in the cover art. That's going to be difficult for me to actually get it the way I see it in my head, or somewhere close enough that I don't mind releasing it that way. So, yeah. That's the big issue at this point, because as far as the writing part goes, like I said, I'm almost done with the draft, and then it goes into, like, fixing some plot holes and things that I've left in my wake of just rushing through and getting it, getting all the ideas on paper. And then it comes down to just editing and stuff and, typos and cleaning it up and things, and I may or may not end up using a professional editor. I haven't quite decided yet on that. I have to kind of run it through a few things, because there's stuff like Grammarly and stuff that can do a lot of that for you on your own, but I'll still probably, if they can make significant changes to it and it makes it that much better, I'll still probably run through a pro editor person. But the cover art's the part where I'm really not sure how that's going to go. I'm hoping it goes well. because the cover art's a big thing for your advertisement thing. It's the first thing people see. So I want that to be really well done. But at this point, that's really the most concerning part. But once the cover art is actually done and I'm like, cool, I'm happy with it, I'll be a lot more excited about releasing the book, because then everything else I feel will be a little bit more up to code, up to standard kind of thing. But yeah, so I just haven't really been talking about it a whole lot because I really don't want to get everybody super excited, and it's like, okay, so when? Well, it's coming. It's coming. Just wait. It'll be, So I wanted it a bit more like prepared to where it's like now it's in the editing phases and things like that before I really started getting into what it's about and blah blah blah. That, and like I said, I still don't have like that summary, like that bullet point, just sum up plot synopsis kind of thing for the back of the book. And for the description and stuff like that, which makes it a little difficult, because it's like when people are like, what's it about? And I'm like, this would be the point where I would just, paste in the back of the book description if I, had it done. So that one's going to take a little bit of working to finagle how to condense it. But yeah, I got really excited though. It was like I actually saw a light to the end of this tunnel. I mean, like I said, the overall story, my friend and I have been working on for over 10 years now, but the actual book that I'm currently working on, like that little snapshot of the overall universe where that takes place, the book itself I've been writing for a couple of years, off and on, like not as active as I have been this last year on it, but off and on I've been writing on it for a couple of years, and so it always just kind of felt like you had more in front of you than behind you, and to feel like, hey, I'm like a quarter of the way through the last chapter, it's like, what? This is actually happening. This is cool. So I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping the draft will be done the end of this week, and then the next week I'll move into revisions and rewriting and adding some details and stuff, and then it'll get into more of the nitty-gritty of editing and talking to artists about the book covers and all that kind of stuff. And what's the point of having a platform like this if I can't interact with everybody? So, with that said, if any of you have had either friends who have used certain artists for their book cover arts, or know people, or just know good artists that would be interested in something, that would be something that I wouldn't turn down. Like, if somebody mentioned, hey, you could contact this person, and here's, like, their DeviantArt page or something, that here's some of their work, that would actually be much appreciated. If you don't, that's cool, but if you can think of anybody, hey, yeah, I have a cousin who does that or something, whatever. I'm never closing doors that I haven't actually explored. So I would totally be open to hearing anybody's thoughts on places that they've used before. If you've done something similar, or contract artwork or something like that, I'm all ears kind of thing. I have some places in mind. Like I said, I went through a Udemy course on how to market your books and things, which had some references and places you could go, and websites you could contact for bids and things like that. So I have some places of my own, but if any of you have had personal experience with them or something, wouldn't turn down the open door kind of thing. But with that said, this episode's going on a little bit long for being a book rant, so we're going to wrap things up here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.